How is it going, guys? We have really no time for intro. I mean, this is not even a real episode. This is an emergency podcast because easily one of the biggest trades in NFL history has just gone down. Russell Wilson, now former quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, is now officially a Denver Bronco pending a physical. I got Parker sitting here next to me virtually. Parker, what just happened? Seriously, can you explain what just happened? Because you were just on the phone with me because I had no idea that this had just gone down. I'm thankful you called me because I was not doing anything really. So do you have more details? Because I know this. I literally just found out about this like 5 minutes ago.
This is why I need to get better about checking Twitter, because thank goodness I was checking when I did.
Yes.
I saw that the Aaron Rodgers news broke, which we also need to dedicate like 5 minutes of this 20 to 30 minute
We will for sure. But the main thing right now is Russell Wilson for sure.
Exactly. And I think what happened here is the Broncos learned they weren't getting Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yep.
Honestly, I think they saw that get done, and they had this little thing in the wings with the Seahawks where they said, hey, we don't really need Russell. We're not really looking forward. We don't think we can win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson the way we are right now. We'd like to deep rebuild, make us an offer. And for the record, this deal is from the Broncos. It's not entirely detailed out yet, but Tom Pelissero dropped multiple first-round draft picks, additional picks, and players involved. So this is a massive overhaul to both rosters.
This is a blockbuster deal. This is a deal that was. I mean, there has always been rumors that Russell Wilson could have been leaving and to the Broncos, but now that it's actually happened, this is absolutely insane time. And might I just add, because I'm sitting here with the cheese hat on right now, this is horrible for me.
Yep.
This is the worst thing. I can argue, Parker, that this is actually worse than if Aaron Rodgers had gone to Denver. I can make that argument because Russell Wilson does not go here unless he's wanting to stay there for at least like a couple years. Like this is not going to be Russell Wilson.
That Drew Lock is also going to Seahawks now, which they're just glad to.
I mean, why not? I mean, Drew Lock has proven to everyone that he is not a reliable starting quarterback. At least at this point in his career, it would actually make a lot of sense that maybe he could find a new home and a new environment in Seattle and maybe kind of, have kind of a new start for his career essentially. But
perhaps.
But let's get back to what we're actually talking about here. Russell now the AFC West, Parker, the AFC West
best
now
division in football, and it's not
Mahomes, Wilson, Derek Carr, and Justin Herbert.
Best division in
Are
football.
You kidding me?
Hesitation.
This is why I've started to make this I've started to kind of develop this take over the last year or so. I mean, Tom Brady, when he had his run with the Patriots for like 20 years, who was the best quarterback he ever had to face? Like genuinely,
Manning.
Or no in
division.
In division. Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez. Like Jesus Christ. I mean, but my point being, Mahomes has been the best quarterback in the league for the last 3 years, I'd say 3 or 4 years. And now he has to witness a division with literally one of the best young quarterbacks the AFC has ever seen in Justin Herbert. Derek Carr, who I have many opinions on, but I will still admit is easily a top quarterback when he's on his game. And then obviously Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson, when healthy, is an MVP candidate every single year. I mean, this, like you said, this is now the best division in football just based off of a quarterback perspective, for sure.
And assuming Nathaniel Hackett can coach, literally the AFC West is the most wide open it has ever been. I would still argue that Kansas City is still the favorite. I mean, stop it. Kansas City is still the favorite. Listen. There's other breaking stuff. There's been multiple franchise tags breaks and extension breaks. Mike Williams is getting a apparently huge extension with the Chargers. Like, there is other stuff being shaken up right now that we're not even talking about right now because we want to focus on the QBs. There's other huge things that have broken that I wish I had the list right now.
I also would like to add
right now is
I also would like to add, because I have been hinting, or at least I've been talking on the show about why Russell Wilson needs to demand a trade soon. And I'm glad that he actually was. I'm not saying he was listening to me. He obviously wasn't listening to me. If he was, that'd be insane. But Russell Wilson, obviously, I think he realized that there was nothing left for him in Seattle. I mean, he already got a ring. He went to 2 Super Bowls and got 1 ring. He's had his all his fun there. And then obviously this past season was an absolute disaster. Obviously there were some injuries with Seattle last season, but there was no real path going forward in which Seattle could keep Russell Wilson and legitimately be considered a contender in the NFL in this era, where Obviously, you have the Chiefs, you have the Rams, now you have the Bengals. I mean, there's so many good teams in the NFL now that there is no realistic chance that Russell Wilson could continue his career with Seattle and legitimately consider himself or consider his team to be amongst the top competition in the NFL. Now that he is on the Broncos, I've always been a little bit skeptical when people say the Broncos already have weapons. They have decent weapons. Let's not be crazy here. I mean, they have questions at running back. Jerry Jeudy is obviously a great talent. Courtland Sutton is a great talent, but can never stay healthy. Noah Fant is kind of in that same boat. I mean, they have a lot of decent players, but I still feel like Denver needs to make a couple. I mean, maybe they're not looking at Christian McCaffrey because now Christian McCaffrey's been in trade talks for the Panthers.
They don't have any capital anymore. I don't see that happening.
Obviously now, but my point still being that Denver still has to make, I think, a couple more moves in order to be like serious contenders. Russell Wilson obviously makes a tremendous difference. Don't get me wrong, but I still think Denver needs to make a couple more moves, and that's why I said just earlier, I still think Kansas City is definitely the favorites in the AFC West, but it is not going to be a cakewalk anymore. Absolutely not. I will say, it wasn't already. I mean, the Chargers have been giving the fits they've been giving the Chiefs fits for the last like 4 years. So
didn't they sweep them in division and just not make the playoffs?
No, we beat them in Los Angeles.
No, never mind. They did.
That was the Kelsey walk-off in overtime.
The OT Kelsey.
Yeah. That was an absolute incredible game. But point being, Russell Wilson. We don't know who's going to Seattle in this deal. All we know is that Russell Wilson.
You know who's probably going to Seattle though. With the number 9 overall pick, I would not be shocked if we see Kenny Pickett to the Seahawks now. I was thinking through because Broncos.
This is actually helpful. This is actually helpful because our next episode was slated to be Thursday, and we're going to do a mock draft.
Imagine if this had broken right after we recorded that.
Exactly. So I'm actually happy that this, even though this is still not great timing with this trade, it's at least not as bad as it could have been if this would have happened later in the week.
But looking at the QBs on the market and the fact that Seattle needs one, look at what Pete Carroll likes. He likes the mobile QB who is easily coachable, maybe not the highest ceiling. Honestly, the fact that Russell Wilson was so insanely talented kind of hurt Pete Carroll's vision of being a run-based defensive team.
Yeah.
So I think Kenny Pickett might be the pick to them, and it's reaching for him at number 9, but I think that might be, I'll tell you, if I end up with the odd numbers in this mock draft, I'm taking him 9.
I mean, obviously with quarterbacks, anything could honestly happen. I mean, when Mahomes was talk about the Mahomes draft, people did not have him as a quarterback who was going to be taken in the top 10. I mean, he was, to some people, Mahomes was like a second-round quarterback. So I would just say to you, Parker, if a quarterback and a GM like what they see out of a quarterback, they could realistically take them anywhere they want because if they find their guy, they're just going to get their guy. So even though Kenny Pickett might not on a draft board might not be slated as that high of a pick, if a GM and a coach like him, it really does not matter. That's just my opinion. I want to talk about quickly.
Before we move on to Aaron Rodgers, I want to run through the list of franchise tags that got dropped today, just to see if you have any strong reactions.
Just quickly though, quickly.
I've just got the list. Tight end Mike Gesicki going back to the Dolphins under the franchise tag. Dalton Schultz under restructured Zeke and Dak contracts is getting franchise tagged to the Cowboys. Chris Godwin is franchise tagged. It's a whole lot of tweets about the Aaron Rodgers news. Josh Reynolds just got a 2-year deal with the Lions. Of Devontae Adams under the new restructured deal, which we're about to talk about.
I don't think you mentioned Orlando Brown with Kansas City, but there's
that dropped last night, right?
Well, but now there's also reports that Orlando Brown might not accept that. That move by the Chiefs. He might be
forced to trade.
Or just something different. I'm not sure.
Right.
I saw an article about that this morning.
And like I said, Mike Williams is getting an extension.
Yeah.
Left tackle Cam Robinson for the Jaguars. Mike Williams, it just dropped a 3-year, $60 million contract extension.
Damn.
And Drew Lock.
It feels like kind of a lot for a number 2 receiver, but I guess Sammy Watkins got that same sort of deal with Kansas City as well.
Exactly. And Drew Lock is officially going to Seattle. It dropped as well.
So Drew Lock is going to Seattle? Okay,
yes,
so that's breaking news. I had no idea that was happening. I mean, we could speculate obviously, but we didn't know for sure. Do you see
Judy's popping off on Twitter?
I'm sure.
D lineman Shelby Harris also too.
Quick question to you, Parker. Do you expect Drew Lock to be the starter week 1 of the 2022 season for Seattle?
9. He's the backup.
Okay. Just want to.
Yeah. The other part of the trade, D lineman Shelby Harris, who Denver has said is a locker room leader, apparently, is also going. Is the other player apparently going to the Seahawks,
Okay.
and the rest is going to be picks. Apparently,
Okay.
This is
Okay.
new.
So we got
this is breaking.
So Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and unconfirmed picks are heading to Seattle in exchange for.
I would not be. I'm guessing 3 firsts and 2 seconds, probably.
I'd say 2 firsts. I think 3 firsts would be a little.
2 seconds. All right. Whatever.
Yeah,
no matter what, the number 9 overall is going to Seattle. Like, we know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
1 minute 37 seconds later.
Okay, since we are on a short window here for this recording session, I'm gonna ask one more question, both to you, and then I'll also answer my own question. Now that Russell Wilson is quarterback of the Broncos, and then now Aaron Rodgers is officially returning to Green Bay, who will have the better season next season?
It really comes down to if Nathaniel Hackett can coach, honestly. Because I like Russell Wilson. I like that offensive roster. Their defense is solid. But the Packers, okay. That I gotta ask another question back at you for that.
Fine.
Are we talking postseason success or regular season success?
Whole season.
The AFC is too much of a meat grinder. Rodgers stayed because he knows that he can almost clinch that number 1 seed. He can almost guarantee himself seeing the second round of the playoffs the way the NFC is right now. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is guaranteed to have a better season next season.
See, I don't hate. I definitely can't disagree with that. All I can do is basically enter a counter argument saying, I can't now. I mean, I wasn't ignoring it before, but it's hard for me to overlook the amount of playoff failure that has encountered Green Bay in recent years, and knowing that Russell Wilson has this fresh start. And he's certainly we've always talked about Russell Wilson having easily one of the greatest deep balls in the history of the NFL, and now he's going to be taking that arm power to Denver in that high altitude. I think he's going to maybe even have more of an ability to show it off with just.
I do have to ask
the thin,
because
the
if
thin
you look
air.
look at the only reason I say it is we talk a lot about lack of playoff experience coming back to bite people, and obviously we were wrong about that this year with looking at the Bengals, but it still is usually true. So if you look at the contenders right now, the Bills, Patriots, Bengals, Ravens, maybe the Steelers if they get a QB figured out, Titans, KC, Las Vegas, Los Angeles.
Vegas, no.
Okay, not Vegas. But looking at the rest of those, I don't like the Titans either in this situation.
Me neither.
But Russell Wilson in a new situation and new head coach Nathaniel Hackett, I don't know how much I love them beating most of those teams.
Even someone like a Jacksonville, Parker, now that Trevor Lawrence has got a season under his belt, I mean, I can honestly say Jacksonville maybe surprising some teams next season.
I could see them as a 7 or 6 seed. Yeah,
me too. Or maybe even did you even mention Indianapolis? I mean, they were playing.
I didn't. I like Indianapolis, but they have just like QB like controversy right now. So.
Well, but then again, you also still have Jonathan Taylor, who was competing for MVP race despite being a running back last season. So, to your point, so let me just finish my point quickly.
Go.
So even though I think Aaron Rodgers probably has the more easier road to to having playoff success next season, I still love. I think for Russell Wilson and Denver could be a really, really good one because Parker, Denver is a place in particular that has always been tough to win in, despite how bad the team is. Playing in Denver is just tough. I mean, given obviously the altitude, but then just they have an insanely noisy stadium. Mahomes, even though Mahomes obviously has defied a lot of common tendencies in the NFL because he's always had success in Denver. Denver is easily one of the hardest places to play in the entire NFL. Russell's deep ball. That's what I was talking about just a second ago. So Denver, even though they've never been able to find a replacement for Peyton Manning for the last 7 or 8 years. They still have been decent. It still has been just as hard to play at Denver despite not having a great quarterback. Now that they do have an elite quarterback in Russell Wilson, even if the Denver roster isn't as good as some of these other teams, Parker, they could just clean out their home record. Imagine, because that's always the problem with Denver, is that they can always just have such a good record at home and then go 500 on the road, and they'll still make them like a. Published. Okay, read it out to me.
Full deal. Sorry to interrupt because I know we're
no. Go ahead.
But we have the full deal for Broncos Seahawks. The Broncos get Russell Wilson and a 4th round pick. The Seahawks get, we called it, 2 first rounders, 2 second rounders, a 5th, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, the tight end.
Oh, they gave away Fant?
They gave away Noah Fant.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was
the deep parts of this draft are important for
holy
Denver
crap.
now because they want
Seattle
Seattle
has always been lacking a tight end. So now that they have one, that's kind of a ballsy one, man.
Seattle with these picks now. I would not be shocked if Seattle goes first round QB, second round running back. Like I don't know how good this.
Or just any skill position at all.
Running back class is, but yeah, I don't know how deep this running back class is, but they need a better back on that team.
Yeah, well, they need pretty much everything now. They need a lot of things. But yeah, that's gonna hurt. That because I was talking about how I was talking about
we just called him one of their top 3 receivers. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about how because people always speculate that Denver has. They already have a great roster. They've always just been lacking a quarterback. I don't necessarily disagree with that entirely, but I would just argue that the skill positions that they do have aren't as good as some of the skill positions of other teams. And now that they've lost Noah Fant in that deal, I think it's going to be a real killer that I don't think people are going to they're not going to fully understand. They obviously could just draft one or maybe pick one up in free agency. But now you're talking about only having Cortland Sutton, who can barely stay on the field most seasons, and then Jerry Jeudy, who has not necessarily been proven he's not bad, but he hasn't proven to be as good as people would have thought he could be. He still obviously has many years yet to prove that, I think. But now without Noah Fant,
and they've both been extended.
They need to put more people around Russell Wilson, because I could argue that Russell Wilson actually had better skill position talent in Seattle than he does in Denver. I could actually make that argument, and I don't think many people would disagree with me, honestly.
I don't during the Super Bowl year, obviously. But
even last season, DK, Tyler Lockett, and then Chris Carson when healthy. I mean, Rashad Penny was an afterthought, and then once he was actually healthy, he was tearing it up at the end of the last season.
I still think this Denver roster is better for him overall. Which
is fair.
Yeah, I definitely like the fact that they have 2 competent running backs. Like that means even if your O-line's bad, you at least still have options for Russell. Yes. So I still like this. I mean, obviously I like this. This is the biggest story we've had in.
Right.
I don't even know.
The Harden one was also huge, but which is.
Oh yeah, no. This is the biggest thing in a month.
Right,
biggest story in a month. Thanks, James.